All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Touching on the top NBA prop bets for Friday. Let's go in and get into them. So I'm going to be using the 9 to 5 cheat sheet for PrizePicks and Underdog. But if you guys want to use these prop bets for a different sports book, like DraftKings, FanDuel, BetMGM, one of those, you can do that. And actually, that's what I did with the video 2 days ago for you guys, where they ended up going 50%, but ended up being profitable. J-Val was seemingly a free square, and the under was being heavily favored there, where I was telling you guys to bet his over, and we'll get into what to do with him today. But I do see this video as kind of double-sided. Like, I'm going to give you guys some prop bets that are going to be good for DraftKings Sportsbook, FanDuel Sportsbook, BetMGM for those. But I'm also going to be concentrating on PrizePicks and Underdog because that's what the tools are geared up to do. So it is going to be kind of twofold there. And I'm going to be doing a game-by-game breakdown. So I do want to start with Miami because we have an interesting spot here. So Jimmy Butler is going to be out for the Miami Heat. And so one of the biggest things I want to point out here is that throughout this season, we saw one player really step up in comparison to everyone else, and that was Jaime Jaquez, which that might be surprising to some people. Now, he's been playing better recently. He is a good, efficient basketball player. The question that I have is how many minutes he's going to get. Only had 22 minutes in that last game. That to me is concerning. And so what I want to call out is that this sample size that I'm looking at does not have that many minutes with Tyler Hero on the court. Jaquez has about 300 more minutes on the court than Tyler Hero does because Tyler Hero had been someone that had been out for quite some time. So when we take and add Tyler Hero to the sample size with Jimmy Butler off the court, Terry Rozier off the court, and I tossed in Kyle Lowry in there as well just because, well, I like when Rozier... Obviously, Rozier, whatever. Those two kind of, their minutes go hand in hand in terms of the sample that we want to be looking at. So once we do that, it actually is Tyler Hero that steps up the most data-wise, but Jaquez is still decent, and I want to point this out. And so his per 36 production, and we don't expect him to get 36 minutes. It's about 22 probably, but it's about 14 points per 36, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. That's for Jaquez. So if he does get more run, maybe something that we can be looking at, but he's going to be a risk reward. Let's jump into Tyler Hero. So Tyler Hero is someone that you think would naturally step up like he did. I wouldn't say he did, but he shot the ball 27 times, 14 three balls, okay? Which is kind of on par with the per 36 production with Butler, Kyle Lowry, and Terry Rozier off the court and Tyler Hero on the court. Again, we want to be looking at when Hero's on the court because one, he's probably not going to leave the court, and two, he was out of the lineup a bunch thus far this season. His usage rate is 29%, averages about 39 fantasy points per 36, 23.3 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. Averages 20 shot attempts and almost 9 threes. So when we look at the prop bets that are being made available for Tyler Hero, we're going to see that his over 3.5 three balls is currently the best one there. Now, that's probably going to get bumped on something like PrizePicks or Underdog, but if you guys are someone, again, that's betting on DraftKings or one of those other sports books, I still think that that's going to be a good bet. Now, obviously, the payout's not going to be that good because the over is favored there, but that should be a good one. Again, he shot the basketball 14 times from 3-ball range last game. Only made 4 of them, was kind of poor in that department, but he's going to shoot the basketball out. Again, averages about 10 per 36 with Jimmy Butler off the court. Now, his usage rate is going to be extremely high regardless, so we're going to expect him to have the ball in his hands regardless. And the only way that that doesn't occur is if they get Jaquez the ball a little bit more, but I don't think they're going to. So his assist, I don't really want to touch. I actually would be favoring the under. Again, it averages about 5.5 assists per 36, but he might be getting a little bit more run than 36 minutes. Heck, might be getting 5 more minutes than that, which is pretty significant. I think I would rather go with the points and rebounds because I think we're getting a tiny edge there. Again, this is going to be a better bet on DraftKings, BetMGM, FanDuel, those type of sports books, points bet, rather than on PrizePicks or Underdog, because on PrizePicks and Underdog, we're trying to find those bets that have a 54% likelihood or better to hit, like this 3-ball bet. But if you guys are searching for one, I like this one. Points and rebounds. Averages 6.6 rebounds per 36, 23.3 points per 36. So that's right there. But tack on the fact that he's probably going to play 40-plus minutes in this game. That's one that I like the most. And then really the only other Miami player that we could think about betting on is going to be Bam. And that's just how the boards currently sit right now in terms of props being available. And I don't mind it. And I do like the over assist at 4.5. I think we would be wanting to favor the over. His per 36 production with Jimmy Butler off the court and Tyler Hero on the court, well, first his usage rate is 25 58%, which is extremely high for a big. That is that's just not heard of. So already I'm intrigued. He averages 5.4 assists per 36. And this is a bet that probably correlates pretty well with Tyler Hero getting his over 3 balls as well, at least in some capacity. Now in the last game, what happened? Only 1 assist, which was kind of crazy. And so obviously we don't love that, but really you would blame Bam for the reason as to why they lost. Now this isn't exactly the best matchup as well, but not as bad of a matchup as it was last game. And if we look at his last 2 matchups against Chicago, he did kind of go off. Okay, 6 assists, 5 assists, 10 rebounds, 20 plus points. Like, he did go off. And that's the only 2 times that he has played Chicago thus far this season. So decent bets there. And then we do have some Caleb Martin props. Personally, I don't feel the need to get into Caleb Martin, mostly because we haven't really seen that much of him as well. This Miami team has been kind of a headache because it's been a lot of turnover in terms of who's getting minutes and rotations and whatnot. I want to stick mostly to the known factors that are going to be Bam and also Tyler Hero. So with that, let's go ahead now and jump into the other side of that game, Chicago. Now, Coby White is coming in off of a massive game last game, okay? He has been someone that has been playing pretty darn well as well. We're going to see here that really the best bet that we have for him is going to be rebounds and assists. Personally, I do not like targeting players coming in off of a career game in terms of overs. So I'm mostly going to be staying away from any points-related props for him. That is just not something that I like to do. So with that, we might be looking at more DeMar DeRozan props. And really the best bets that we're getting with him are going to be looking at rebounds and assists. And we are going to see points, rebounds, and assists. Slight prop line difference in points pretty much between PrizePicks and Underdog. So if you were wanting to bet the over for, like, let's say PRA, you would do that on Underdog. Now, personally, I don't really have a good, strong feeling for any Chicago Bulls props. We know that DeMar is going to get heavy minutes. That, to me, is the most appealing thing for him. The heavy minutes. That's what you would want to chase. That's also going to be the case with someone like Coby White. We know that those 2 players are going to play extremely heavy minutes. And that would especially become the case if someone like AO were to sit as well, because then you're looking at a lot more usage to Coby White and DeMar DeRozan already. And they have to have the minutes that, like, they're just not leaving the court then at that point. And so they really need AO to play in this game. Otherwise, they're pretty thin. Javon Carter would get a little bit more run. Alex Caruso is currently questionable. He would have to get a little bit more run, which is also a bit of a concern. He left that game, which is also why AO played as much as he did. But those are 2 big question marks. Okay, so for me, with those, I really kind of want to stay away from Chicago, especially going against Miami. That's typically a more difficult matchup. Now, you might be inclined to do some Nikola Vucevic props, and he is someone that has, I don't want to say he struggled, because he's had 1 big game and 1 bad game. At the same time, he still gets rebounds. And so if you were trying to do some sort of Nikola Vucevic props, it probably would be something like rebounds and assists or rebounds. And I would argue that this would be a good sportsbook bet to bet the over here for 11.5 for the over rebounds. I would feel pretty decent about that. At the same time, I don't need to go crazy with that. But that would be one that I like on the sports books, just because he was able to get to 11 and 12 in the last 2 games against them. And now you get him a game where he's going to play close to 40 plus minutes. Chances are he's going to get an extra rebound that pops his way for him to be able to get the over there. But it is thin, obviously, not something we need to go crazy with. All right, so from there, we need to jump into kind of another kind of crazy situation. So we got Zion that's going to be out, which is another thing that's pretty unfortunate. But at least for the Pelicans, like, we have seen this a bunch already this season, so it's not going to be a surprise in terms of which players are the ones that step up the most. The biggest question I have is, what are we looking at for minutes with J-Val? Because he was someone that in the last game, I just thought it was crazy, the lines that we were getting on him. I mean, he was 1 for 7 and still easily crushed his over points, rebounds, and assists. I think it was at like 12.5 last game. That was just such a strange line. And I think the thought is that with Zion out, he's going to be someone that gets more minutes, which does make sense. But at the same time, I worry that they could go small against the Kings. And I know last game against the Kings, they did not do that. He had 33 minutes in that game, his most minutes recently. And if he does get that again, he's going to crush this over. Another game against the Kings earlier on this season did get the over easily there as well. And really, I guess this whole season, another matchup really crushed the over there, crushed the over in those ones as well. So I kind of wish I didn't look at that, because lately at the end of the season, he has been someone that has kind of been phased out of minutes when teams go small. The Pelicans just have not given him the minutes. And so, man, I wish I didn't see that. honestly. I don't think we want to do PRA with him, but let's see what his other props are at. And so rebounds, again, it's kind of like Vooch. Like this would be the one I would want. If we're going to bet on J-Val getting 20 plus minutes again, I would want to bet the over 9.5 rebounds. Okay, don't have any minutes projections in there just yet. That's going to come tomorrow on game day, just as an FYI. But yeah, if he does get 20 plus minutes again, it's going to be tough to imagine him not getting over 9.5 rebounds. At the same time, I do think the Pelicans could choose to go small, and then someone like Larry Nance would then be the guy that gets a little bit more run. And he got that run last game as well. 28 minutes in that game. It makes sense why he'd be someone we would want to look at. And the more I'm looking at this, the more I kind of think Larry Nance for over 16.5 PRA is a good bet on paper. And you guys will see he did not play in that last game against the Kings, which is why J-Val had that much run. And so this is much more of a sportsbook bet. Again, we're trying to chase great EV bets on PrizePicks or Underdog, but I do think that this is going to be a good sportsbook bet for you guys. By all means, I think this is one of my favorite ones on the night because it just makes sense for him to get that run for sure rather than J-Val. Like we can almost bank on that unless he gets into foul trouble. Then obviously that sucks if that happens. And again, if we look at the per 30 production with Zion, it is basically heavy amount of J-Val minutes. That's the concern. But at the same time, Larry Nance, he's been a little bit banged up. The Pelicans have been a little bit banged up. I could see them going to more Larry Nance. At the same time, we'll see. I would say don't put J-Val and Larry Nance together on a slip. That wouldn't make sense. But after that, the two players we're concentrating on are going to be CJ McCollum and also Brandon Ingram. So CJ McCollum in the last game, he's the one to blame as to why they lost. 30 minutes, 4 for 15, 1 for 9, just a terrible game from him. That was just one of his worst games recently. Now he's going to be going against the Kings where 55 fantasy points in that game, 31 points, 40 minutes in that game. Like that's more of what I think we can expect out of McCollum. We have seen that thus far this season. His per 36 production with Zion off the court is a usage rate of about 28%, which is very good. Averages 23.6 points per 36 with him off the court. So right where you'd want it to be. But I would imagine he gets a little bit more run in this game than he had last game. Again, with Zion out, that just makes sense. He averages 4.7 rebounds and then 5.3 assists. So all the lines that we're getting on him are pretty accurate in terms of per 36 production. So it's really just, do you think he's going to get more than 36 minutes or not? I would assume so. I would assume he gets closer to 40 minutes. And if that occurs, all the lines that we're getting on him are too low. I would say the best one that I like right now is actually Underdog for CJ McCollum for over his points and assists. That'd be the route that I would go. And then we do need to take a peek at Brandon Ingram as well. So Ingram he gets the most minutes by far, heavy amount of minutes with Zion off the court, averages 26.6 points. So already that's pretty low. Now he is on a minutes limit, so we do have to worry about that. Like, is he going to get more than 25 minutes? That's the biggest question mark. So that's why everything's going to be low, just as an FYI. At the same time, man, it seems like every bet for the Pelicans, at least, we're betting on the minutes being there, and I don't love that. And so this is kind of another one where if you're betting the overs with J-Val, I don't know if the Ingram props would exactly correlate there, but I do want to go through this again. So Ingram with Zion off the court averages 5.7 rebounds, 7.4 assists. And so again, if he gets more run, then those lines are going to be good ones. But for me, for the Pelicans, this is kind of my long way of saying I don't exactly love the bets that we're getting for the Pelicans just because there is a little bit of uncertainty in terms of minutes and whatnot. So for me, it almost feels like a stay away. And then we jump into the Kings. I do expect the Kings to kind of feast in this game. Obviously, they did against the Golden State Warriors, and I kind of expect that to happen again. Sabonis, it wouldn't be surprising to see him get like a triple-double in this game. He's going to have a healthy attempt of getting there. He did have 5 personal fouls in that last game. I don't expect that to happen in this game. And so let's pull up the props for him. And so we do see 3.5 turnovers, just the best one there. I don't know if I exactly love that. We see 13.5 rebounds. I don't know if I exactly like that. The one I probably would want to go with the most would be his PRA for his over. At the same time, it does feel a little bit thin now that I'm looking at it. So maybe nothing too much there. Let's take a peek at Fox. And then I think that's kind of it in terms of the profits I want to be looking at right now. But Fox would make sense for rebounds and assists. That's not bad. Points I could even see, but that's not a good PrizePicks or Underdog bet as well. So with that, guys, I want to show you guys a quick update that I made as well. And so this is going to be a work in progress. One, I updated the edge only tabs and whatnot. This is going to include all the sports that are available on these tabs up above, but it's also going to include fantasy score prop bets. So I wanted to call that out. But let's get into the slip optimizer. And so that's something you guys haven't heard before, slip optimizer. This is a work in progress. I want to make that very clear, because I just don't like the kind of setup of it. And when I go through it, it'll make sense. So what you would do to use this tool is that obviously on PrizePicks or Underdog, we have several different pick sizes we can choose from. And so the first thing you want to do is choose between which pick slips you want to do. So if you do 2, this will break down all the slips that you can make, and you would want to make all these slips based off of the top 6 best bets that we have available, okay, for that day. And then you just pair them up together, and that's what this is doing it. So it's saying with that first prop bet, these are all the ones you would have to pair together, and that's where we're getting the different color coordinations here, if that makes sense. And so then you do that with the second prop, and then the third prop, and then the fourth prop. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just going to show you guys the best 6 slip bet that we can make right now as it sits. And so that would be, well, we got some hockey props in there. I don't know if I exactly like that. But again, this is something where I want to add it into the golf tab, NHL tab, MLB tab, basketball tab. I want to get it for that as well, for those people that just want to do specific sports. But what we're seeing here is that we have 3 good current NBA prop bets that we could run out there. Hero over his 3-pointers made, Caleb Martin, I guess, for over 1.5 3-pointers made, and then Kyrie Irving under 4.5 assists. Now, I will say right away, if I'm running out Caleb Martin and also Tyler Hero for over 3-pointers made, I'm definitely running out Bam for his over assists. So let's give you guys a slip based off of kind of just my favorite prop bets on the board from the basketball tab. And we'll get back into that, just show you guys the best bets that as it currently sits as well. So guys, literally right as I went to give you guys the bet of the day, they bumped the Tyler Hero prop. So I went and used the points and rebounds prop. So that's still fine. And then I don't mind the CJ McCollum prop for over 29.5 points and assists. But to me, guys, this is going to be a better bet on Underdog. And that's why I'm putting it on here. I'm putting all the bets that I like on one slip right now. So I hope that's not too confusing here. But yeah, this is going to be a better bet on Underdog at 28.5. I think that's the edge that we want to roll with. Okay, so that's going to be the spot there. Okay, I just want to make that clear. That's why I wrote in the 28 there. But then Caleb Martin is still a good EV bet that we are getting. This is going to be a good sportsbook bet here that I like for Larry Nance. And then, yeah, bam. If we're going to be running out Tyler Hero, points and rebounds, we're going to be running out Caleb Martin still for over 3-pointers made. I think running out Bam, who averages 5.3 assists per 36. I think it was 5.4, whatever, over 4.5 per 36 with Jimmy Butler off the court. Well, he's expected to get more run than that. Then that's a bet I want to be using as well. Now, before we get out of here, I do just want to show you guys some other bets that we are getting currently on Underdog that you guys can use. Not exactly going to be all these bets from just on Friday night, sorry. But we do have Keegan Murray and we do have AO for over their points, where we see a slight prop line difference between PrizePicks and Underdog there. And I want to call it Maxey as well for over his points. We're getting a decent prop line difference there. And then Beasley as well, another one that I like there. So I guess let's give you guys an Underdog slip as well. So I'll use that McCollum one in here as well. And so here's the bet slip then for Underdog. Again, just taking advantage of some prop line differences that we have between PrizePicks and Underdog. And these are all bets that are going to be good EV bets, minus the CJ McCollum one, which is more one that I think is going to be a good bet for us to make on Underdog, because on PrizePicks, as you guys saw, that's bumped up to 29.5. But that's going to be all for today's video. Do just want to remind you guys, if you guys use Underdog for the first time and you're signing up, use the promo code 9to5. That'll kick back some money my way to the channel. It also give you guys a deposit match of up to $100. But that's gonna be all for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you guys want access to the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. They're available for just $10 a month. Thanks for watching. Good luck, and as always, let's keep cashing.